said they'll stop this. Um, Maybe that's what's upsetting them. They said they thought this was going to cause me to go along with them. Something they talked about that I wanted to, which is hard for me to understand, but maybe some of you out there who understand this will tell me. I should just ask AI. AI will probably know. They said how they wanted this to work is when they couldn't do something, they would latch on to me because they said I seem more like somebody who the people they wanted to be with would like, which is what I said in the very beginning. I think I did a video in 2022 where I said they wanted to use me to suck people in, which would be the issue. You know, that now they're trying to say it in a way that would kind of make it look less as a scam, but it would have been a scam. And that's partly, you know, when they said throughout my life, I was a person who had people who like friends and so forth. That goes against what they were saying about me before. But here's what I think about this. And I'm trying to tell you like my opinion about things that I can kind of understand. I can understand it from a scam. Like if I'm the person, like for example, if I am the person who will attract this type of person, I wouldn't then want to pretend to be friends with someone who could attract a better person. Why? Because ultimately those better people never like me that way. Do you understand what I mean? Like that's how I think. Like if I can attract, I'm going to say like somebody who's more like me, you know what I'm saying? Why would I pretend to like somebody who can attract somebody who let's say who is like, I don't know. I'm going to try to think of someone like me, maybe somebody who likes a certain type of music, let's say. I'll just say, why would I want to pretend to be like the person who likes a certain type of music and then have to stay in fake relationships with people? I don't think that would make sense for me. But for them, it does, because for them, it's like someone just says social climbing. And it's like, if you have to pretend to be something to get a better type of person than you would normally get, that's how they think. Then ultimately that person won't be with you anyway. And then you would end up being seen as that type of person. Like, oh, this person's going to be fake in order to try to get a better type of person. Like me, if that better type of person wouldn't want me, I won't force myself on that person. But I also wouldn't want to be with somebody who doesn't like me as I am. Because after a while, I wouldn't be able to keep up the act, would I? This is how I'm thinking. Like, after a while, that person won't like me. So when they were saying, like before, like my relationships tend to last longer. And, you know, it's a lot of things that they kind of wanted to use me for, to suck other people in. I couldn't do it. So they said they misunderstood. Like years ago, if I was the only Black person, afterwards, if I did well, they would hire more Black people. That's just how it was years ago. I'm 52, so I'm talking about 30 something years ago. And they took it the wrong way. They took it to mean like they weren't hiring good workers. They were just hiring Black people. No, it was just how it was. And other Black people who I was around at the time understood that. And also white people understood it. It's like when I was talking to you guys about certain things, white people understood it too. It wasn't racist at the time. Now it would sound racist. But if you, for example, if I have a company and I don't know anything about, say, I don't know, something, and then I hire somebody who's really good at the job, then I would be more likely to say, by the way, you did a really good job. I'm looking to hire so-and-so, or I'm looking, and people would understand that because it was like, oh, this was a good experience. It was a positive experience. Now take that and apply it to what they're saying. They're saying it in a negative experience way, meaning like if you're the only Black person and they are bad workers and they can't get the job, why wouldn't I recommend them? Why would I do that? Like this doesn't make any sense. They're not understanding that this is not logical. It wouldn't be logical for someone said exactly why. It wouldn't be logical for me to recommend a bad worker because that would affect my job. And they don't want that. They said when I worked at Saks, they would try to send in people to come asking for free garment bags. The garment bags weren't free because they were with your purchase. And so that's another example of how they think. It's like you should help us steal from your company because we're we. That's what I mean. Like, that's why when they at one point they said they want me to talk like that, talk as a we. No, we aren't we. When you're trying to get me into set me up to frame me for a crime or set me up to commit a crime, we aren't a we. And that goes back to how this was supposed to be. They keep saying forming a community where people who don't like me will try to bully me into doing the wrong thing and not expect me to fight back. So when they were like, oh, we're surprised you fought back, they aren't. They've known me, according to them, for 52 years. And even though they don't know me personally, they know my character for 52 years. And they know I wouldn't go along with it. So in order to do that, then they tried to do this whole surveillance thing. And they're going to be like, oh, we're going to walk up to you and say, when was the last time you changed your panties? I would respond to them right now. What date were you surveilling me last? And that's my point. We would get into it like that. So they said, oh, they don't think that comeback makes sense. It does, because it shows that the criminals surveilling me. And this is partly what I'm saying. Like, they're not understanding. You can't commit a crime against somebody and think that person is going to be like embarrassed by your criminal activity. You've confessed, and they have, to committing this crime against me, to try to bully me into doing something. And in doing it, they showed how nasty they are. Why would I ever want to form a community with them, let alone then try to let them use me to sucker new victims into this? They're not understanding that the whole purpose of this wasn't to go along with them. It was to fight them. And when they said they said, this is how they spoke. We just wanted to clone you because when you leave, we can't do the same job. So by cloning you, we can pretend like how you do it, and then we could do a better job. Doesn't that sound like a scammer? That's a scammer. So when they're talking and they think they sound so wonderful, they sound like the horrible people I said they are. When people are saying these people are evil, I can agree, finally, yes, they are. You don't clone people because you can't do the job. You either leave the job because you can't do it, or work harder with your abilities and your talents to do a better job. But cloning people, which is going back to what I'm saying with this AI, this was a system to steal from people. You have the job I can't do, so I'm going to clone your skills, your talent, your abilities, put it into a computer, fire you, and now I get the job. That's what this thought process is. And part of this is, if they want me to be the one who's like, I'm going to recommend somebody who I know can't do the job so that I have even more work to do on my job, or worse, people will say, well, why did you recommend that person? That's part of this. It's the idea that, they're using an example back when I worked at the New York Botanical Garden. I worked there from 93 until about 95. Then I came back for a short amount of time, and I think it was 90 after that. I can't remember, but just for like a short amount of time. So they're saying that, why wouldn't I recommend somebody who worked there? First of all, nobody asked me to recommend anyone to work there back then. Years ago, it wasn't like that. Like nowadays, you can like recommend somebody, but back then you would just apply yourself. And I'm just going to be honest with you, in terms of any job, nobody's going to take your recommendation if that person isn't good for the job anyway. They act like, there's something in their minds that I had the ability, the talent, the skill to just hire a bunch of people. That wasn't my job. I wasn't hiring anybody. I just worked there. But in their minds, if I say it, then people would automatically hire them. No, that wouldn't happen anyway. But I wouldn't even recommend someone who couldn't do the job, because it would affect my job. And they don't understand that I would put my own job ahead of them. Of course I would. The other part, so they just said something. I can't hear what they said. So the other part of that, there's a two-part of that. The second part of that is the idea for them is that they're going to try to bully me into doing something that would hurt me, because the goal isn't to get the job, it's to attack me. And to say, someone said, there it is. So it's to say, you have this job, I don't want you to have it. I'm going to do everything I can to sabotage you at that job, including trying to bully you into recommending someone who wouldn't get the job anyway. But what it would do is, all of a sudden, the people who hire people will say, well, why did she recommend this person? And if they aren't good at the job and they refuse to do the job, they have problems on the job, or worse, they create problems on the job, it would sabotage me. So that's another part of the scam. The bigger issue with the scam that I wanted to go back to is that if someone has to bully you to try to do something, why would you do that thing for them? It automatically means you're not doing it because you want to do it. You're doing it because you're bullied into doing it. Someone just said the examples they're giving don't make sense. They don't. I would be spending years going back, what was that, 33 years now? Going back over things over the years, and they're putting it into computer AI so that they can argue with me. They said they don't think my comebacks make sense. It would. If you're saying, when was the last time I changed my panties? Then I'm saying, well, when was the last time you surveilled me? If you're so interested in what's going on in that area, I don't want you, because that's not just nasty. This whole process is nasty. And when they're talking in this way, they were upset because they're still trying to figure out, when was the first time I realized they were doing this? Because that's how they think. When did we get caught? When did you catch us first? And I'm saying, when do you think I did? I'm never going to tell them. I'm never going to tell them these things. And they thought because they said they created a list of goals that they would achieve on me, and it's not matching up to reality. It would never match to reality, because what they're dealing with some sort of mental illness. When you have to do this in order to interact with people and create AI for things that you aren't qualified for, don't have the skills for, and then steal from the people who do. We're not in the same reality. We're not in the same thought process. The other part of that is that if I want to go back to when I'm saying, like, why would I want to hang out with someone who's better than me? Here's how I think about that. If I am me, I'll just say me, and I don't do certain things, I would never try to get close to someone who does that, because in my mind, that's automatically a crazy person. You know what I mean? That's automatically someone who's mental. And I'm not that. If that person wants to be with me and we don't have anything in common, I wouldn't be with that person. So I wouldn't just go with someone who is better than me just so I could be with that person. No, we would have to have something in common. And that's part of this. It's the idea of being with people who I have things in common with. Is comfortable. They've seen me bad. Somebody said, oh, we thought you would delete some of your old videos so you look better. No, the goal of this was to show you who I am. And if you still want me after all this, then fine. That's part of this. But that's how they think. That, oh, we'll just delete everything that happened in the past that we didn't like and didn't make us look good, so then we can come up and be with somebody who we would normally not want us. That's what I'm trying to say. Would normally not want us. Well, why would I want to be with someone who normally wouldn't want me? So that later on, when they see me and they're like, you were nothing like you pretended to be in the beginning. That's what I'm saying. That's that moment when you for them, the idea of even using the phrase someone who's better than me bothers them. Yet aren't they putting themselves in a place of being better than me, of judging and jurying me all day, every day? So for them, it's like there's something that they're not connecting, that everyone else is connecting and seeing how evil they are. They're not connecting that they're hypocrites. I think being a hypocritical person is probably one of the worst things you can be, where you say one thing, but your actions are something else. And when they do something wrong, they have an excuse. When we as normal humans do something wrong, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear, well, this is going wrong because I'm being gang stalked, or this is going wrong because this technology you used to surveil me caused me to be sick, or this is going wrong because of people following me all day, every day, or this is going wrong because I don't want to be in your community and you're trying to bully me, or this is going wrong because I am being bullied. So that's part of this. So they say, oh, now you can't say you've never been bullied. This is how they think. This is their thought process. They don't hear anything I'm saying, do they? You don't hear a word I'm saying. You know, that's the whole point. That is their response. So the other part of that is that when you're dealing with people who don't hear you, and then they think they're going to bully you into saying how great they are, or they said this really didn't help, did it? It hurt every single person. Even the people who went along with it, they didn't even realize they were out loud, which I can't understand how you could not realize you were out loud, but they ended up, someone just said, backstabbing them. The people who went along with this were put out public. So when I'm telling you this was always out loud and it was public, I'm telling you the truth, and they admit it now. Why would the people who go along with you be the first group you embarrass and humiliate? Because it was about the power to do it. And I want to put that as the title. It's about the power to be able to publicly humiliate people, to bully them, to shame them, to abuse them, and for people not to have the power to stop it. That's what this was about. And that's why this is a group of evil people. Because if you have the power to abuse people and no one can get you to stop, like I've tried everything to get them to stop. The people who went along with it later tried to get them to stop and they wouldn't. That's what I'm saying. That's the kind of power to do something. So when you're saying, oh, would I be the person to recommend these people? No. Why? I'm the one who said from the beginning, don't go along with this. It's illegal. It's a crime. It's gonna, I think I even said in a video, I've said a lot of things. I said this was about public penance, which is a crime. Just like, you know how like years ago, people would make people who committed a crime get like tomatoes thrown at them, or invite everyone in the town to shame the person. That's what this was supposed to be, which is a crime. We don't do that. There's a reason we don't do that, because just like I was innocent, some people could be innocent. The other point about that is somebody thankfully is explaining to them that if you want to look back at something, when I told you like I was at the garden, I was in college. So I was only like my late teens. I left the first time when I was 21. So we're talking about a college kid. We're going to try to pressure college kids into hurting their futures. We're going to pressure like young people into destroying their lives at a young age so that you can publicly shame them. This is what I'm saying. Like, they're not understanding how they really sound. And when I repeat it and I do it in a video, they want me to delete it because they didn't mean it like that. Oh, you misunderstood us. Well, I haven't been misunderstanding them all along. We're not going to recruit children into doing bad things so that we can destroy their lives at such a young age. They feel like they have no other choices, and they feel like they're going to be ashamed for life. That is not what I'm going along with. But if I can expose it, and they said I'm always telling the parents, I hope so. I really, like, the goal of this would be to tell people who are older, this is how gangs work. This is how they recruit you. They get you to do something really bad early, and then they can use that against you. And somebody said, oh shit, that's how it works. That's why, when you talk to people who had something happen in their lives when they were young, it's hard for them to get over it. And for some reason, for me, I would think it would be the opposite, which is that if something happens and it happens when you're very young, you would be like, oh, I was a kid and that happened. But for some people, it's harder because they were a kid and it bothered them so much at a young age that they deal with it all their lives. Which is why I'm saying this was what they wanted. They wanted to recruit me to bring in young people into this apartment, like foster kids who are already going through trauma and would need a safe environment. This isn't a safe environment for me. It definitely wouldn't be for children. The other part of that is, again, they said a while ago that they try to find children and do something to the children at a young age. They admitted that. And when you start to think of it like that, I'm thinking about when I was a kid growing up. Like I said, when I was a kid growing up, thank God for the generation, my grandparents' generation, because they understood all this stuff. Somehow this type of thought process got, didn't keep up. I'm trying to think about how they would phrase this. When I think about how they would phrase this, it makes more sense. When I was a kid, the older generation would say things like this. You don't have to be nice. You don't have to go along with the crowd. That's what they would say. Don't go along with the crowd. And that's part of what these people are. They're forming a community, meaning a lot of us come along with a lot of us. They would say, don't go along with the crowd. They would say things like, what was another thing they would say? Stay with people your age range. That's a big thing they would say, because they would realize older people think different than young people. So if you're young, you're thinking one thing, but the older person has already thought something completely different. So stay with your age. And they would do that because they understood that if you are very young and you're around very young people, your thoughts would be on one thing. Now, when an older person would come up to you, they're not thinking the same thing. And the older generation made sure we understood that. And the other part of that is that if something went wrong when you were young, they would let you know, this could change your life forever. This will be with you. That's what they would say. This will be with you forever, which goes back to what I'm saying. When these people know that, they know that if they get a person at that young age and they do something to them or cause them to do something, it will be with them forever. And that's what the older people would tell us. When you make a decision in life, understand this is going to be with you forever. And when they said that, you got it. You didn't have to say, what do you mean? Well, they said I used to ask a lot of questions. No, not with the older people. With the older people, they spoke in such a simple way that you understand and you understood. So they would say, this is going to be with you forever. And you would think about that. These people want to make it seem like you do something wrong, even if it's with you forever, you can kind of live with it. And I'm saying this, it's not about that. It's about hopefully healing from it and understanding young people do stupid things. But when you're being told by evil people to do it, it's a crime. So for me, it's not so much that you're a young person, you did something stupid. It's these people are trying to get you to commit these crimes because you are a young person, that you have something they want, which is your youth, you're young. And when they're trying to take advantage of you, they know that. And they know that it's not going to be something that you could easily move on from. And they'll take advantage of that. So if it already happened, you can't go back and change it, but you can heal from it. But if it didn't happen, you can prevent it by realizing these are evil people who take advantage of the fact that you're young. And they look for that. That is what you have. Like, some people, I want to go back to saying what makes people better than some other people. Having your ability to be young is something that makes you better in terms of life, because you're still young. You have a future. You have a life ahead of you. You have that thing. And that's partly what the older people when I was growing up would say. That's a valuable thing to have, your youth. They used to say a saying like that. I can't remember that. Like, they would say something like, your youth has value. It's a valuable thing that you have, to be young and make decisions with the future ahead of you, because you have a long life to live. Because that's what they would say. You have your whole life ahead of you. That's what they would say. So meaning they would tell us when we were young, your youth is something that's fantastic, because you have your whole life ahead of you. You have all these great things that are coming up in your life. And don't mess it up on something that's just for now. Think with your mind in the future. And then when they would tell us that, we understood it. So when now you have these people who are gang stalking you, trying to recruit you into doing something stupid, someone is talking about, because young people don't get the same type of sentence if you commit a crime. But I'm not just talking about criminal activity, because these people are talking about more than just criminal activity. They're talking about doing things that aren't a crime, but that will affect the rest of your life. And what I'm saying is that if you grew up my generation, the older people would say that if you make a decision today, it can affect you for the rest of your life. Is that really what you want? What do you see yourself doing? That's something that they say. I used to ask a lot of questions. The older generation, my grandparents' generation, asked a ton of questions. They would say, what do you see yourself doing in the future? What do you want to be? How do you want to live your life when you become an adult? And you would answer, and they would say, well, if you're making these choices today, that's not going to happen. You got to be making choices today that will help you get to that point. So we didn't grow up with just seeing what we had. We grew up seeing what we could have and what we would have in the future. And when there were other sayings they had, I'm going to let you listen to them for a while. And then I'm going to think of another saying that can kind of put this all together. So let you listen to them, and then I'll think of another saying. So they just said, didn't I feel that during these videos they cornered me on certain subjects? I want to just take that question apart before I even go into it. Didn't I feel, meaning my feelings, that they cornered me, meaning they set me up with a strategy for me to feel like I'm trapped, cornered in some of my own videos, meaning do I feel that as I'm filming my own video, my own story, they trapped me? Or did I feel that way? I feel that way every day with them around me, that this was all just a setup to corner me, to trap me in my own life. And when it didn't trap me and it freed me, because that's what this did, it freed me from feeling like it's in my head. It's reality. And when you free someone and you say to them, this is reality, this is what we're doing to you, then you start to say to yourself, so this wasn't just a feeling. Because his question was a male voice. His question was, didn't I feel that they cornered me in some of my videos? So it's not just me feeling it, it's what they did. So I can now rephrase that question. What do I feel about people trying to sabotage me in my own life? And I'll answer it. I feel that it happens. I feel that the more people know it happens, you start to think differently and you start to say, wait a minute, everyone isn't there for you to win, to succeed, to do well. Some people are there for you to sabotage you. And what are you going to do about it? Are you going to sit around and say, I'm being sabotaged, or are you going to expose it and film it and not delete the video so that someone else can look at that video and say, that's how it works? So what do we think? I'm now speaking like them because they're like, speak like we. So what do we think about that? Well, I think the things that they thought they cornered me on, they obviously didn't. I wasn't doing the wrong things. But the fact that they could try to twist it and now come around and say they want a community with me means that they're not getting it. They're not actually understanding what happened. What happened is they tried to sabotage me in such a way to publicly humiliate me. And they admit that they did that. And they aren't admitting the fact that they did it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not about how I feel about it. It's about the fact that they did it. So he just said, you don't get what we mean then. So he just said, you weren't living this big, fabulous life for all these years, not when we came around. You came up with a scam to fool the government. He just said, I take that back. There we are. You see how he responded when he was cornered? That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to, these are people who want friends. I'm not their friend. I don't want to be their friend, but I just want to expose that this is happening. I'm not their friend. I'm not going to help them build up a friendship circle of people who would want me more than them. If I wasn't living the life that I claim to live, it would have been exposed before they came up with this scam. Listen, when they are saying that I put things on social media, I put pictures, I put real experiences. It wasn't something I made up. I couldn't have made it up. Someone said that I wouldn't have been paid for it. Exactly. I actually did the things that I said I did, and you've seen it. Someone said I put up my whole life pretty much with the pictures and images and so forth. I didn't make it up. I'm not going to then pretend that what he's saying in terms of that question is accurate. It's this is how they would suck my my little remaining youth for me. That was a phrase I wanted to say, that people will suck your youth. When you're young and it doesn't matter what you look like, you're young. That is what you have. That is your skill, your talent, your value. That's why it's so important that as a society, we take care of our young. They will suck your youth out of you. They will drain you. That is a value. And if you're dealing with people like this, who, what did he say, corner? They will corner young people into doing the wrong thing that they're stuck with for the rest of their lives, and then use shame, guilt, and public humiliation for them to never heal from whatever mistakes they've made when they were young. We weren't meant to live that way. The human mind was supposed to remember, you make mistakes. It happens. Our memories aren't supposed to be kept in AI computers to keep reminding us of it. You're supposed to forget some of those things over time, heal from it, and move forward. You're supposed to, as a young person, say, I got to look towards the future. What am I going to do with my life? And let me keep working in that direction. And that's what the older generation, when I was growing up, would tell us. These people will drain your youth. They will take you when you're too young to understand what they're leading you into, which is nothingness. And take that from you so that your youth will be spent on the wrong types of people. So by the time you get old enough and you look back, what do you have around you? They said that they can see me dying as a miserable old woman. If I'm not miserable now and I'm kind of old, then maybe I won't be dying as a miserable old woman. The last part of that is, I just want to go back. I'm going to let you guys continue to hear what they're saying, because they're not understanding any of this. It's as though we're living two separate realities. And in their realities, the life I've lived wasn't good enough. That's what I'm saying. It will never be good enough for them. They said when I was younger, they tried to make me feel that way. I probably understood it then. I understand it now, so I probably understood it then. Because they're like, the people they admire are like rich celebrities, but aren't they the same ones they try to sabotage? Yes. And that's part of how they think. If they admire something, they want to destroy it. They want to tear it down. Whereas for us, if we admire something, we want to build it up. It's a completely different way of looking at life. It's saying, oh, if you're young and you have this great thing that you could do with your life, instead of helping that person get there, they're going to corner that person, try to trap that person, create this AI system to shame that person instead of building people up. They spent years trying to corner me in my videos. Now, I started doing the videos this way. We're going to argue about what way. They'll say the 2019 video is me on camera, but not talking this way. But I started doing my videos this way on camera, I think in 2022. 2021, I didn't want to come on camera, but 2022, I did it on camera. So now they've spent 4 years at least trying to corner me in my videos. And what I'm telling them is, you didn't achieve that. What you did was you exposed this system that people would never have known about if you didn't try to corner people in their lives. You haven't lived your life. You're coming on, he's coming across like, I haven't lived a fabulous life. Well, he hasn't either if he spent his years doing this. So instead of trying to say what I've done with my life, let's talk about what you've done with your life. Here, I'm going to give him time on my video to tell me about all his successes that he's achieved. Someone said the success he achieved was unwhiting my ass. He said, wasn't I always on the white bandwidth? I'm I'm not going to go even argue with these people. I've shown you guys videos and proof that they're mentally ill people who came up with this lie to befriend me, and I don't want them. So once you reject these types of people, then they're going to try to attack you. It's the best thing I've ever done in my life by rejecting them. Someone said, what the hell is the white bandwidth? Something they came up with. Something they came up with. They said, why did I have to repeat it? So I can expose it. You're not understanding. The purpose of my life isn't to be in my bedroom talking to any of you. It's not. The real normal people are not talking to me this way. This is exposing how you folks set people up to look schizophrenic and mentally ill. Let's keep to the facts. This wasn't a friendship video. This is a video to expose how you railroad people into mental illness, into homelessness, into sitting around with their lives fighting and arguing with you. You're forgetting what this was all about, and that's the reason you folks don't succeed in life. You don't succeed in life because you're so fixated on hurting other people. You're evil. And you forgot the whole purpose of this video. They just admitted it. We are not together on this ever. And that's the point. That's the point. We are never together. Here's why. I'm going to answer why. They believe that they can take advantage of people and it doesn't affect people. They can brainwash people, mind control people, manipulate people. We went through it's predatory for them. They're going to find somebody that they can prey upon, take advantage, no empathy, because for them, it's them or you. It's either or. And they said they only give you two choices. That's the choice, you or them. I believe in completely different values. It's never predatory in my life. I don't prey on people. You have multiple choices. Just like on tests, you have multiple choice tests. You don't have just either or. And I said this, I'm never going to let them change who I am. My sense of self must stay the same. If they can change who I am, then I wasn't that. So when they just said something. They said, what if it's Steve Harvey? That's what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying? Like, if what they can offer isn't good enough, they're going to latch on to someone else to take advantage of you. So now they feel like if they say this with Steve Harvey, then I would let them take advantage of me. And they said I would like them more. That's how they think. Do you get what I'm saying? It's hard for people who say they're evil to say, well, this evil exists and this is how it looks. Because it's hard because we don't think that way. If you say to me, there will be somebody who keeps doing this horrible stuff and trying to pretend we're together, and when I explain we're not together, then argue with me and say I wasn't good enough for them. Then when I'm like, well, good, that exposes the fact that you were willing to use me to get ahead. And then they're like, well, you weren't good enough. What if we said with Steve Harvey? That's how they think. I can't explain it, but you guys see it. It becomes, you're not good enough. Someone just said they put you down in order to get with you. But then they use other people who you might like more, which is like someone better than you. And then when you're like, that person who's better than me isn't going to change my opinion, then they get angry. So it's this whole process that I'm trying to expose. They said I wore my YouTube channel into the ground. If that's what I did, then so be it. I use that phrase a lot, so be it. That's another thing that Gen X, you grew up hearing if you're Gen X, so be it. Meaning there are certain things you don't have control over, so be it. And I really feel that this was the right way of exposing this. There are so many of us out there exposing this system. You might not like me, but you might like someone else. But there are people who I know who like me and like the way I've done this. And that's why when I'm saying I'm doing this for the people who already like me, people who already know me. This wasn't for me. They said I was never trying to be a celebrity. Of course not. I'm a regular person. It's funny when they were saying before about all these things, that wasn't going to be me. I wasn't going to have the type of life that they would find attractive. I was going to have the type of life that I find attractive. And when I told you they wanted me to talk in like the we, it's again how they were going to try to mind control me within their belief system, but we're completely different types of people. So when I'm here arguing in my bedroom with people who shouldn't be able to do this with me, that is the exposure. And they said, they fell for every one of my traps. I didn't trap them into doing this. I don't understand. I don't understand how people can take no responsibility for their lives, but try to tell you what to do with your life. The other thing, and I want to go back to the race thing, because this race thing I find very interesting. Growing up, we weren't racist at all. When I was a kid, it was like I went through, I guess it was after I was born in 73, so I guess it was after all the civil rights and things like that. So we had a lot of things that talked about the races sort of working together and how we were all supposed to just be regular people. So when they're saying, oh, they said now try not to get into this high school thing, they don't even know what they're talking about. They're just making stuff up. And they admitted at one point, they're the ones when I would wake up in the middle of the night would sort of keep going over things that they think happened. Like I said, the dreams that they talk about aren't supposed to be what really happened. It's supposed to be different, but they misunderstood. And that's what I'm saying. I think they have issues, which is why whoever hired them to do this put them in this position, because it's supposed to drive you mentally ill. It really would. And their issues, they don't understand that their issues aren't for just regular people to deal with. They need professional help. I'm not a professional. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm nothing in the medical field. I don't pretend to be that. We, both sides of us, in a way, want this fight. They want it for their reasons. I want it for my reasons. And the people who put them in this position shouldn't have. They took advantage of them. And that's what I'm trying to expose also. That people who know that they're dealing with people who are mentally ill shouldn't take advantage of them and put them in these positions to commit crimes. It's a crime. Right now, you are witnessing a crime. You're witnessing a criminal act, and they can't absorb that. They can't for any moment say, I'm a criminal, I'm doing the wrong thing, I shouldn't be arguing with her. I should just let her do her thing. No, instead, they're going to come up with a million reasons why they're right and I'm wrong. If you're in the middle of committing a crime, you shouldn't be arguing with me. You really shouldn't. You're not living a fabulous life. Don't you get that? Like, this is why I've got to talk to them for a second. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm talking to them for a second. You're not living a fabulous life. Don't you get it? If you have to do these things, who are you to tell other people how to live a fabulous life? You act like you have some, you're boarding your private plane going from fabulous resort to resort. No, you're sitting around committing a crime and arguing with me through my walls. Anyway, so I'm going to let you listen a little bit longer, then I'm going to end this video. So they just said, you're not getting it. What would Taylor Swift think of you after this? Taylor Swift doesn't even know I'm alive. Okay, let's just stop with the crazy. Let's stop with the crazy. They said they didn't even realize they were committing a crime. They said, that's a lie. I didn't say it that way. Isn't that something I always used to say? They just said. They said, no, not I, you. They said, I never met you living this way. They said, stop repeating everything I said. They said, this goes the wrong way after today. Okay, so anyway, let's just finish this video with this. They committed a crime. They're committing one right now. When people told me how they were doing it, they said they have to use radio waves, frequencies, microwaves, and then they use speakers. Those are all crimes because I didn't consent to any of this. I'm paying for my apartment, not to do this, but to get sleep, to get rest. They talk all day, every day. They're committing a crime. They're trying to say I did things and they don't know me. Why would people who don't know you say you did things? They said most of them have never met me. None of them have met me. I'm saying, why are they even doing this? It was to get me so upset, to set me up. And like he said, he admitted it. And that should be my quote. How do I feel about being cornered in my videos? I said I was going to give it a different title. I'm changing the title to that. How do I feel about being cornered in my videos? Thank you for listening.